Welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose, and it's great to see you here on this cold and frosty day. Let's start our celebration by standing up and singing together our congregational song. We breathe in, we breathe out. We allow ourselves to be still. We allow ourselves to know as we listen to the words of our sacred reading.
The Stable by Leslie Leland Fields. Let the stable still astonish. Straw, dirt floor, dull eyes, dirty flanks of donkeys, oxen. No bed to carry that pain. And then the child, rag-wrapped, laid to cry in a trough. Who would have chosen this? Who would have said, yes, let the God of all the heavens and earth be born here in this place? Who but the same God who stands in the darker, fouler rooms of our hearts and says, yes, let the God of all the heavens and earth be born here in this place.
And so moving deep within, the inner darkness, the inner light, the darkness around us, the light around us, we know that it is all held in a higher wholeness. And as we sing together, I am remembering who I am, we remember that wholeness, that state of wholeness that has no opposite, but that place from which all joys and sorrows spring. Together as we sing, we know this oneness of wholeness for ourselves. We reveal the gift of it, but we also send this blessing out to the world, to the entire world, as we remember the wholeness of all beings. And let us sing. And swept up in the profound sweetness of this stillness, let us continue this awareness as we breathe in deeply and then exhale, gently opening our eyes in love with what is as it is, and so it is.
In the light we will remember.
Good morning. So we've already celebrated Christmas with Hugh's beautiful reading there. Thank you. That was incredible. How many times have I heard that thing? And I'm weeping through the whole thing of it. And then we just celebrated Hanukkah with the beautiful song that the choir did. And what a wonderful year this is, that the first night of Hanukkah is the 24th, and it's also Christmas Eve, of course, so we get to kind of celebrate them both together at our service that we're having here on the 24th. It'll be lovely. We're having a special menorah lighting, and just be a really beautiful thing. One of my favorite stories around this time of the year that I've shared with you before, but I'm going to share it in a slightly different way, has to do with Hanukkah. And it's the story of a situation, a true story, based on a true story that happened in Billings, Montana. And this was in the early 90s, and at that time, and it may still be, I don't know, but there was a lot of negative activity going on, a lot of racism and white supremacist activities going on in Billings, Montana. And there was this young family, the Schnitzler family, and they had a son named Isaac, and the parents got this beautiful stencil of a menorah and put it in Isaac's bedroom window. And it stayed there for a couple of nights, and then one night, one of the white supremacists threw a rock through the window and shattered it. Fortunately, no one was injured, and when the police were called, the Schnitzler family they were beside themselves, wondering what they should do, and the police officers said, maybe you shouldn't put up things like menorahs and symbols that might incite hatred. And the Schnitzlers were at a loss, because it was like, how can we be true to our faith and yet not display a menorah on Hanukkah? I'm sure that they must have felt lost and despairing and perhaps hopeless and helpless, and feeling like there was no good solution in the face of this hatred that was coming their way. Now, I'm going to tell the rest of the story later on, but I want to pause here for a moment and just ask you to consider your own life and the life of the world around us, where there is a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of action going on that is against, that feels like it's against. There's a lot of racism that's climbing to the surface, and Islamophobia, and all kinds of forms of hatred that are coming to the surface. And it can feel like these folks are bullies, and it can feel also like life can be a bully. If you're particularly struggling with something right now, that may feel like it's some aspect of life that's bullying you. Maybe your checking account or your finances are bullying you, and maybe you're feeling victimized by a particular relationship that's not going well with a family member or another loved one or a friend. Or maybe you're feeling alone or lonely, and that has this bullying energy, this victim energy to it. Or maybe, probably the biggest bullies that we encounter are the bullies that chatter in our heads, the bullies that tell ourselves that we are inadequate and that we are unworthy and undeserving, the bullies that tell us that we need to be more, the bullies that tell us that we are not enough. All of these things can take on the persona of bullies, so I want us to look into that darkness right now in this service together and see what light can be born from this thing that's happening to us, this sense of something against us, or something that feels like it's capable of hurting us or messing with our lives or destroying our peace of mind. So think about that for a moment. Think if there's a situation in your life that feels unpleasant or difficult or challenging or feels bullying, or you feel victimized by it, and just hold that situation in your hearts as we go through this message today. And we'll see if we can shine some light on it and bring some healing to it. One of the things that I love to do every year is participate by attending the concert that we're having on, when are we having it, Rita? Is it Monday, did you say? No, it's Monday. It would be tomorrow, and that is Brock Travis's concert that he does every year. And I remember last year I went, and I was in a really sort of challenging place in my own life, and I came in feeling kind of despairing and dark, and I left feeling good. I'm coming tomorrow night. In fact, I'm doing a little harmony on some of the songs at the end of the concert. But last year when I went, Brock did this beautiful concert with all of this music, and he said so many wise things. But the one thing that I remember that he said, the one thing that followed me all year long, was something that he said that I thought was really profound. And that is, people are impossible. You thought this was going to be inspirational, right? People are impossible, and life can seem like it's impossible sometimes. The people in our life or the circumstances in our life can seem like it's impossible. But, as it said in the poem, in the reading, where else but in the darker, fouler rooms of our hearts of impossibility, of challenge, of darkness, where else is the Christ consciousness, which is the consciousness of oneness and wholeness? Where else could it be born but in the impossibility of being? So we call forth knowing of that impossibility of being, and we laugh at it, and we trust it, and we know that within it there is a hidden gift. Today is not about impossibility. Today is actually an inspiring service where we're going to learn about revealing the gifts, opening the gifts that have been given to us, even in the darker, fouler rooms of our hearts and our circumstances. Got it? Okay. All right. So, because it's the last Sunday of the year, and because we're all taking a day off on the 25th. Woohoo! Right? I see Annette back there doing the wave. Okay. I brought a prop. I don't usually work with props, but I felt like I wanted to today. Okay? Because this is a service about gifts. Can everybody see this lovely gift? Let me hold it up. It's kind of heavy, actually. There it is. It's a gift. And this prop is a metaphor. The box is your consciousness. This prop is you. And what is wrapped around your consciousness but a newspaper? It's actually like a sales flyer that you can get, I can't see, but some type of tangerines for $1.19 in, I think someplace in Santa Paula, I'm not sure. But anyway, this represents, this paper covering this box represents what we call in this teaching race consciousness. And that is the consciousness of the human race. That is the collective belief that we all hold, that we share, that wraps itself around us. It is the belief in inadequacy, the belief in lack. You know, I've been talking a lot about racism and all of the phobias lately, and we've been saying all along that the true source of racism is fear based in ignorance of our true nature. And so this paper represents the teachings of the world, the teachings of the ego that collect upon us and wrap themselves around us. However, with that teaching, when you start to really believe some of the things about the race consciousness, when you have the thought about it, it brings up emotion, right? If you believe some of the horrible things you've been hearing or some of the things in your life that feel awful, it brings up emotion. And thought plus emotion creates belief. Belief, right? Somebody over there knows the answers, all right. The ribbon represents our belief, because this paper wouldn't stay on here if it wasn't held by our belief, you know? Our belief creates our experience. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, was fond of saying, "It is done unto you as you believe." Now, a lot of people take that very literally and think, okay, so the Schnitzer family, they created that rock coming through their window. And in a way, you know, they put up a menorah, and they did, but it's not quite as literal as that, really. They didn't create racism. They didn't create white supremacists in that story that I told about Billings, Montana. It is done unto you believe means that your thought creates your experience. The way that I often teach this is using a personal story from my own life that I share in the foundations class. This happened a while ago, and there was one night when I was lying in bed with the entire animal kingdom pressed up against me, except the cat wasn't in the bed with us. And I heard the sound of a cat fight out the door, and the cats were fighting and the dogs were barking, and I went outside to call my cat, who is a lot like a dog. She needs to live in our household. I called my cat, and she wouldn't come in. And so I went back into bed and just spent the whole night thinking, well, she's gone. It was nice knowing her. Molly was a really good cat. The next morning I woke up, and she wasn't in her usual place. She wasn't in any of her usual places. And I went into the kitchen to make a cup of tea, and Molly, the little tramp, sauntered through the doggy door, not knowing that she had caused me to have a sleepless night. But she wasn't really the cause, was it? It was my thoughts about it. So you see, my thoughts did not kill the cat. My thoughts created an experience of believing that the cat was dead. And that's how our thoughts work. That is what it is done unto you as you believe. That's what that means. Your thoughts create the experience of the absolute reality upon which we can project any belief. Okay? So your thoughts are creating your experience. So think about the situation that I asked you to kind of pull up in your mind, and think that about some of the thoughts that you may be having about that. In fact, pick one thought, pick a negative thought that you're having about this situation. You may be saying to yourself, oh, this is impossible. There's no solution. Nobody's ever done that before. There's no cure. Death is too real. That person is a, insert your own colorful word. Okay, so think about that thought. And what I'm going to do is apply 4 questions that Byron Katie asks to help us dismantle that belief, okay? The first thought, or the first belief, first thing we do, the first question we ask of that thought is we ask, is it true? Is it true? You may be saying, yes, it is true. That person really is a total jerk, or there really is no solution. You may answer yes to that question. It's okay. Just be honest about where you are. You ask, is it true? You know, in the story that I told about Billings, Montana, with the rock coming through the window, yes, it was true. There was racism in that crowd. There was racism in that town. So you ask, is it true? Answer honestly, but then move to the second question, which is, are you absolutely sure that it's true? Focus on the word absolutely for just a moment. That's Byron Katie's, I think, brilliant use of words, because in absolutely, she is referring to absolute reality. In the absolute reality, is this truth true? It may be true, but it probably is not the whole truth. You know how I often do on Sunday services, I say, touch your elbow. Let's do it together again. Touch your elbow. Touch your elbow. And is it true that you're touching your body? Yes, it's true. But are you touching your entire body? No, right? So the second question, are you absolutely sure that it's true? Generally, the answer to that question is no. You can't be absolutely sure that anything is true because you can't see the whole picture, right? Reality is created by our projection, by our perception. Okay? The next question you're going to ask of yourself in regards to this thought that you're holding, this challenging thought that you're holding about a challenging situation in your life. How do I feel when I have this thought? How do I feel when I have this thought? Now, you know, we said just a moment ago that thought plus feeling creates belief, and belief creates experience. So it's important to know and identify how it is that you feel when you have this thought. If we really took the time to notice how our thoughts, quote unquote, make us feel, chances are we would want to reject those thoughts, right? We wouldn't want to hold those thoughts, but we cling to these thoughts that often cause us to feel fear or panic or insecure or unsafe. You know, Eckhart Tolle said that anxiety believes that it's helping us. But we have to look at it squarely in the face and ask ourselves, how do I feel when I have that thought? And then see if we can just answer it honestly and let go and move on to the fourth question. And the fourth question is, who would I be without my story? Who would I be without this thought that I'm having? Who would I be without this idea that it's hopeless, or that I'm helpless, or that there's no solution? Who would I be if I were able to let go of the idea that this person is against me, or this situation is against me? Who would I be without this story? And allow ourselves to get caught up in the emotion of that, in the joy of that, and see what happens. And when that happens, we see that this race consciousness, these thoughts that we've taken on, that we're held on by our belief, that they are somehow freed, that we're able to somehow remove this layer of race consciousness that is around us, woohoo! And beneath the layer of the race consciousness, we have something else. You want to be my spokesmodel? Thanks, Lonnie. Thank you. How kind. These practitioners are so good at service. Thank you, Lonnie. Take a bow. Right. Okay. So underneath the layers of belief and race consciousness, we have something else. Now, I looked for a pure white box because in this place, when we've removed the challenging negative thoughts that keep us stuck, there's a place of purity where we can rewrite our own story. I didn't get a pure white box. I couldn't find one. Instead, I got this box with a Christmas elf on it, and it says sweet on it. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But here in this place where we have a new framework, a new canvas or palette on which to paint, we can start doing something that is positive and moving ourselves in a direction where we truly can open up the gift of the Spirit that wants to express through us. Walter Starkey, in his book called It's All God, the Flowers and the Fertilizer, tells us that we are to release and replace. So we have to identify the challenging thoughts that we're having, the thoughts that are causing us to feel badly and causing us to create this experience of reality that does not feel good. We have to catch it and identify it, then release it and replace it with something else. Joel Goldsmith says that when we pray, one of the things that we do is exactly what Walter Starkey said. We identify the challenging thoughts and we sweep them away and create spaciousness for the new thought. And he said in one of his many books, probably in several of his many books, that one way to create new thought is to take the body of scripture and wise sayings and inspirational writers and speakers and just start repeating over and over again inspirational things that you've heard, inspirational things that you've been told. Even if you don't believe them at first, just start repeating them, and that starts painting this new palette on your consciousness. Repeat these beautiful things in your mind, these words of truth, and your consciousness will change. You know, I was thinking about, well, what are some words of truth that we teach here on a regular basis that we sometimes forget about, that we can pull up and when we're in the process of changing our consciousness? One of them is the phrase, "There is nothing and no one against me." It's from The Eye of the Storm, written by Gary Simmons, who's a Unity minister. "There is nothing and no one against me." And that's a lot like Ernest Holmes, who said, "Show me one person who is for something and against nothing, and I will show you another Jesus and the Redeemer of my soul." Show me one person who is for something and against nothing, and I will show you another Jesus and the Redeemer of my soul. He's speaking about the inner Christ consciousness that comes up and rises to the surface when we are for something and against nothing. Napoleon Hill talks about how every heartache, every place of challenge and every place of frustration and failure, that within that there is a seed that is planted, a seed waiting to sprout into greater opportunity. So we start filling our mind with those thoughts. We start filling our mind with thoughts that are supportive of this beautiful entity that we are. And then one thing that we can do to create belief around those thoughts, right? Because I said that belief is created by thought plus emotion. We can start getting our emotions going about those thoughts. And a great way to do that is to apply the Byron Katie 4 questions to the new reality that we're creating in our mind, to the new thoughts that we're creating in our mind. So we ask ourselves, I would start with the second question first in this. We say, is this absolutely true? There is nothing and no one against me. Is this absolutely true? In the absolute reality, it is absolutely true. There is nothing and no one against us. If you question whether or not something is absolute reality, just look across the teachings of the ages and see that they're all pretty much saying the same thing, that there is this unbroken wholeness that is awaiting us to receive it, right? So we ask ourselves, is this absolutely true? And we say yes. But then we ask we ask the first Byron Katie question second, and we ask ourselves, is this absolutely true for me? Well, it is absolutely true for me, but do I believe it? Is it true for me? Do I believe it? And that's where we need to do the work, to move into that place of belief. And we move into that place of belief by stirring up emotion and by stirring up feelings. So we ask ourselves, let's say we have the thought, something like that there is nothing and no one against us. There is nothing and no one against us, or that every failure is a seed of opportunity. We ask ourselves, how do I feel when I have that thought, when I think that my failure is just an illusion and that it's a great opportunity? How do I feel when I trust that there is a solution for every problem and that I have to shift my consciousness from the consciousness that created the problem to the new consciousness? How do I feel when that happens? Does something bubble up within me, something get excited, something feel invigorated? We ask ourselves, how do I feel with this new story? And then we ask ourselves the fourth question, which I think is really powerful. How would I be with this new story? Who would I be with this new story? Would I be someone who is surrendered and powerful and able to get things done? Would I be someone that has let go of helplessness and claimed the everlasting, ever-loving helpfulness of the fullness of spirit that longs to express through us? Would I be the person who knows that truly there is nothing and no one against me, and that sweet are the uses of adversity? Remember I said the box said sweet on it? That's why I got it. Because I've shared with you before, it may not come as a surprise to you that I believe in God. I believe in God and only God. I hope that's not a surprise to you. I believe in God, but I also believe in Shakespeare. I believe in Shakespeare just as much as I believe in anybody else or God, because Shakespeare had it going on. Sweet are the uses of adversity. He could have used many other words. He could have said, Scandalous are the uses of adversity, or sexy are the uses of adversity, or I'm trying to think of S words. Outrageous are the uses of adversity. Oh, here's a good one. He could have said self-improving is the uses of adversity. Like adversity is supposed to improve us somehow, that we are a self-improvement project, right? He didn't say any of those words. He chose the word sweet. Sweet are the uses of adversity. And that to me speaks to this unbroken wholeness that carries both the darkness and the light, the joy and the sorrow. That speaks to me of my favorite line from a musical ever. Without a hurt, the heart is hollow. Sweet are the uses of adversity. And so we ask ourselves, is it true? Is it true? Yes. Are we absolutely sure that it's true? Yes. How do I feel when I have the thought that sweet are the uses of adversity? I feel the depth of my being. I feel the power that resides and abides within me. And who am I when I have that thought? When I have that thought that sweet are the uses of adversity, I am strong, I am powerful, and yet I am also surrendered to the power that created all things. From that place, we have transformed what has seemed like the darker, fouler rooms of our hearts. We have transformed it into a gift. And from that place of knowing, we start opening the gift and we start reaping the benefits of the gifts that wish to express through us. The gift, for most of us, perhaps all of us, is love and light. Light being clarity or truth, love being who we are. Love is light, and light is love. They are one and the same. It is love and light. How will we express our love and our light? Well, in this metaphor, I express the love by a whole bunch of candy kisses that are in here. But light, wow, light. How do we express our truth? There are so many different ways to express our truth. And we stand open to the way that Spirit wishes to express through us. Maybe Spirit wants to express light like this. It's a little hard to see. It's a little light in this room to see the candle here. Or maybe Spirit wants to express light through us. Come on, work with me here. Okay, like this. Ooh. Maybe we have a fierce and piercing light, and Spirit wants to express light. Uh-oh, no batteries in this one. Like this. Okay. Maybe we need to charge our batteries. Or maybe this is the one that I related to the most. We express our life. Not that I can do this ever, because I don't smoke. I've never smoked hardly anything. Oh, here we go. We are the world. How do you do that without hurting yourself? We are the children. I'm going to burn myself. Ow. But this is the one I relate to the most, because it's kind of just ordinary, and it's what I do. I bring the ridiculous into the sanctuary. I blend the sacred and the profane, the sublime and the ridiculous, But our light can express in many, many, many different ways. The thing is that when we're all wrapped up in that race consciousness newspaper, when we're all wrapped up in our belief, we don't really get to see our light, and we don't really get to express it like we want to, like Spirit wants to express through us. So, speaking of light, I'll go back to that story that I was telling about Billings, Montana, and the menorah, the window that got smashed when the family had the menorah in it. There was an expression of light that was so bigger than that family could have ever thought up. There is an expression of light in you that is so much bigger than you could ever think up. And the expression of light for this family with the menorah, where the window was cracked by the white supremacist and there was hatred going on, and they felt despair, and they felt like they might need to leave, or they had to hide who they were. The expression of light happened when one of the neighbors found out about it. And this neighbor thought about how she would feel if somebody destroyed her nativity scene. And so she brought the concept to her church, to a United Church of Christ church, a Congregationalist church, and a very open-minded Christian church, the church I was raised in, actually. And they decided to make Xerox copies of cut-out menorahs so that church, every member took home a copy of this menorah and put it in their window. And then the minister told his minister friends, and their churches started doing it. And then the newspaper picked up the story, and they had a full-page menorah that people could cut out and put. Do I have to cry every single freaking service? That they could put in their windows, and the numbers swelled until there were thousands and thousands and thousands of paper menorahs in windows. And what a pouring out of light. What a beautiful picture of light in the darkness. Oh, forget it, I can't do it. What a beautiful thing that God had to think it up, you know? And it was made beautiful because of the darkness that preceded it. When we are in this place of darkness, we know that the darkness exists to add contrast to the light. If you come here on Christmas Eve and you see how we all hold up our candles at the end, you know, it'll be so much more beautiful than this little display of lights I've been doing here. These lights don't look as good because it's too bright in this room. But come on Christmas Eve and you'll see how beautiful the darkness makes the light seem. And it's all perfectly working together. It's all wholeness. This is why the Billings, Montana story was actually part of what inspired us to do the Love Mail project that we have going on in the sanctuary. As I explained before, the Love Mail project is identifying certain groups that are at risk for racism, and in anticipation or as a preemptive measure of them getting hate mail, we're sending them love mail instead. Last week, we put out, I think, 150 pieces of love mail, and within 10 minutes, they were all gone. So you see how loving you are? They were all gone. We put out more this week. We put out, I think, about 200. And, you know, we'll do it for a while. We'll see how it flows and if it feels like there's a need for it. But this time, when you go get your love mail, I'm going to give this box to another spokesmodel, Reverend Judy Pando. And we're going to put this box of light. You can say, I'll get it to you later, thanks. Yeah, we're going to put this box of light near the love mail, and if there's a candy kiss or something that speaks to you, a Christmas tree, a little votive, a flashlight without batteries, a lighter, if something speaks with you, by all means take it or share it or give it to somebody or keep it for yourself. I don't know if I brought enough for everybody. We got candy for the volunteers, but we also have this stuff for you guys if you want to take it. And it's just a way of sharing light. That, too, is a metaphor. Because all of this stuff, this whole talk of a box wrapped in paper and belief holding it in place and cutting the belief with the 4 questions and creating a new belief, writing that new belief on the palette of this new consciousness that we have, that release and replace, all of that has been leading to this moment where we can reveal our light. When we can reveal our light in that place that you're holding right now, that situation that I asked you to consider, where you can reveal your light in the darker, fouler places in your life or in your consciousness or in your heart, where you reveal that light that is the Christ consciousness that longs to express through you. The Christ consciousness, as we know, is not limited to one person. It is the consciousness of oneness that seeks expression. And the reason that we receive that consciousness of oneness is so that we can share it. So that's the message for today, is reveal your light, open the gift of your light so that you may share it and that the whole world is filled with beauty, your beauty, our beauty, everybody's beauty. Let's do that now. Let us fill the world with our beauty. Let us pray. Thank you. Thank you. And so I turn within and trust and know that truly there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life right here and right now. And though I speak in the first person, I use the sacred I am, which is the I am that refers to each of us. It is the power and presence of God, that Christ consciousness, that inner Buddha, that awakened self, that is the life and the truth and the power of who we are. So right now I unify with that knowing. I unify with that place. I connect with it and trust it as my life. And I know that in the consciousness of recognizing that I am one with this perfect life of God, with the wholeness that contains everything, with the wholeness that contains both joy and sorrow, both darkness and light. In this place, I recognize the power of my existence, the power of our shared existence. I reveal the gifts of all conditions that come my way. I reveal the openness that I have within my heart to become powerless, to surrender to grace, to open up to the greater possibility that wishes to be born in the darker, fouler places in my life, in my heart, and in my consciousness. I know that there is possibility. I know that there is solution. I know that there is nothing and no one against us. I know that we are here to reveal wholeness, to reveal light and love. And right now I do the work of opening myself to be that revelation, that the thing that is happening to me is happening through me, and it is happening now for my awakening, for our awakening, so that we may all awaken, so that we will live in an awakened world. And so I trust this. I trust this process. I trust these words. I know that it is done unto us as we believe. So collectively, we hold the vision of a world that is held in holiness and light and love and laughter. We're already creating it here in this beautiful center, and it just continues to get bigger so that the world is blessed by the consciousness that we create here. And so with such gratitude for this transformation that I know is occurring in each and every one of us, in all of our hearts, in all of our minds, in all of our beings, in the outward effects of our lives, I simply release into trust this beautiful mystery that we call life, that we call love. As I release, I bless this path to God, this path and all paths, synagogues, churches, temples, mosques, ashrams, and I trust and know that God is present in all things. I give thanks for this deep and powerful knowing. I give thanks for the transformation that is occurring in our lives. I give thanks for love and for light. With a heart filled with gratitude, I release these words into the mystery, and together we say, and so it is.